Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Alex Stone Show. I'm your host, Alex Stone. I have another very special guest with me here today. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to get straight into it. This is a man who has been a political advisor to President Reagan, President Nixon, and even President Trump, and my uncle, as many people have seen for a very long time. Please welcome Roger Stone. Roger, how are you doing today?
Alex, it's great to be with you. Look, we met some time ago and we bonded. We have the last name Stone. So I guess it started when I made a joke and said, well, you're my faux nephew. This is really taken off. But I'm proud now to be your uncle. And we're both out here on the front lines fighting for freedom and remind people that this is one nation under God. So it's great to be back with you.
Well, Roger, I always love having you on. You have great political insight every single time you come on my show. You're a veteran of 45 years of American politics and just analyzing anything and everything politics. President Trump once said, you don't care about sports, you don't care about baseball, you live and breathe politics. And we're obviously in the most important election of all time. Roger, I want to hear your perspective on the next 84 days or so of the upcoming election. What do you think is going to happen? We have the DNC coming in about 7 days, I think. What do you think is going to happen with that, and how do you think this election will play out?
Well, first of all, this has been one of the most tumultuous presidential campaigns in our history. But starting in 2016, Donald Trump broke all of the conventional rules of politics that those of us who've been in the business for 40 years lived by. He, for example, is the first presidential candidate who was elected whose campaign did not spend tens, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars on broadcast television advertising. That had literally never been done before, but he did it. His abilities as a communicator outside paid communications like television and cable and radio and so on is really something where he was a pioneer. But our politics can change very quickly. You've seen a series of news cycles here. I would say the first cycle was the Supreme Court's immunity decision, which was a substantial win for Donald Trump. That was followed by a debate in which the expectation levels for Trump was high, but he exceeded them. The expectation level for Joe was low, and he fell below them. You saw a poor man flailing and melting down on national television. Actually, I felt bad for him. Then, of course, you had the horrific attempt on Trump's life in Butler, Pennsylvania. Still amazes me the number of trolls on X and other social media who insist that this was all a psyop, that there was no attempt on Trump's life. This was all staged. And the worst part, and Roger Stone is the one who staged it. That's insulting. It's also outrageous. It's probably defamatory, but it shows how completely insane some people are. Now, Joy Reid with MSNBC, she's supposed to be a serious journalist, but she insists there was no attempt to kill Donald Trump. She should be fired. But then again, or if her IQ was 1 point lower, you'd probably have to water her like a plant anyway. It is a time when there's a lot of nervous Nellies in our own camp. There's a lot of people throwing up their hands and saying, oh my God, Trump's in trouble. No, none of that's true. What is happening here largely is a psyop. They are using their enormous influence and leverage in the media to create a false impression. They did this before. It was called the Russian collusion hoax. They had the majority of Americans convinced that there had been Russian collusion between Russian intelligence and the Trump campaign. It was a lie. It was a lie without any basis of evidence or fact, but they convinced people of it. Now they're trying to convince you that Kamala Harris is popular. At 38% favorable rating just before Joe Biden was bludgeoned out of the race, her rating as vice president was lower than even Spiro Agnew 2 days before he was forced to resign. She is not beloved by the American people. She is not trusted by the American people. But that's not what they're trying to tell you. Now they have to get R&B acts to fill a stadium. So they have a hot musical act play, and then Kamala comes on and says a few words, and they say, "Oh, you see, just like Trump, she filled the stadium. She didn't fill a stadium. She can't fill a stadium." Anyone who's on social media with half a brain sees that we're actively photoshopping these massive crowds that don't exist. And the poll numbers, to the studied eye, I've looked at every poll that now shows her pulling ahead of Trump, either whether it's nationally or in a state. And in every case, they have purposely oversampled Democrats within their sample to get the desired result. Yes, New York Times, Siena College, I'm looking at you because that's exactly what you do. That's called juicing in the polling industry. It's the way you can manipulate a poll to get a desired result. But I think, in all honesty, the race is pretty much where it was, meaning she's running no better than Joe Biden. She may ultimately run a little worse than Joe Biden. Trump still maintains a narrow lead, significant, but narrow. There is no reason for panic. But some of our less experienced political friends are panicky. No, the Trump campaign has an excellent and extensive ground game. It's going to be the biggest and most effective in American political history. We are building an army of volunteers, an army of poll watchers. It's amazing how many states had no Republican poll watchers, how many states had counties in which there were no Republican poll watchers. That's a recipe for disaster. That's not going to happen again. So, look, this is pretty simple. Attacking Kamala personally, saying she's dumb or saying that she's a whore or whatever, that's not going to work. I don't recommend it. I think it's a mistake. I don't think Donald Trump was wrong to question Kamala's shifting ethnicity for political expediency and political benefit, because that speaks to her character. Trump put it best. Look, I don't care if she's black or whether she's Indian or what she is, but she should be consistent in saying what she is. Otherwise, she's just trying to be something she's not. I think it's a legitimate issue. It's not the one that I think he needs to pound on. I think everybody gets it now. All of my black friends, and yes, I have a lot of them. They see through it. They don't care for her. So I think that it's now time to contrast records. Suddenly, she's for ending the tax on tips. You have to be kidding me. Now, first of all, tips are a gratuity. Tips are a gift. So therefore, under tax law, they should be untaxable anyway. Gifts up to a certain amount are not taxable under the federal tax law. You pay for your meal. You're not paying for your service. The service provider, the waiter, the waitress, let's say, they're paid to bring you your meal. So you're giving that to them as a gift, and it should not be taxable. Now, suddenly, Kamala Harris, when she saw the popularity of this idea, particularly in Nevada with its entertainment industry, now she's suddenly for doing away with the tax on tips. She thinks people have no memory. What's next? Donald Trump has a great proposal to cut taxes on seniors on Social Security. No taxation of their their Social Security benefits. How long before Kamala Harris tries to steal that? Alex, this woman would steal a hot stove.
No, you're exactly right. There's a lot of, shenanigans that she's trying to play, as you said, with the no tax on tips and everything. President Trump, he had that idea because he was talking to voters. He was talking to people that are going to vote for him or might vote for him. So in June, he announced in Las Vegas that one of his campaign promises is no tax on tips. Well, 2 months later, also in Las Vegas, which is Sin City, it's a sin to steal, and that's exactly what she did. She stole from President Trump in Las Vegas. It's very atrocious. One of the things that I've been seeing on social media are all of these people all of a sudden claiming that President Trump, has dementia or he is losing his mental, facilities and whatnot. He put out a something on Truth Social just the other day, and last night Eric Swalwell, who is an absolute moron, absolute idiot, he puts on X. He says, "I'm just begging at this point, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, this is not right. Your father is sick. Don't let him do this. What are you trying to achieve? This is elder abuse to let him do this. He is a former president." It's interesting how all of a sudden these people care that President Trump is a former president when it comes to him running for president and then thinking he's mentally unstable. But they don't care that he's a former president when it comes to, I don't know, obvious lawfare. It's such a double standard that they have, and they've had it for a very, very, very long time. One of the concerns that people are having is that President Trump's ground game isn't strong enough, and you address this as well. I believe that this is the strongest campaign that President Trump has ever run. And to me, it seems that it's, in free fall right now. Well, in 2016, it seemed as if it was in free fall around this time, and President Trump came up with an electoral college upset. I believe that's going to happen as well. Roger, there is the DNC happening next week, and one of the things that President Trump has said is that he thinks that Joe Biden is going to come and try and take it back. Do you foresee that happening in any way, shape, or form?
I think it's unlikely. This is very clever of Trump. He is trying to sow dissension among Democrats. Look, Joe Biden's interview this weekend was stunning. He basically admitted that Nancy Pelosi betrayed him and they forced him out. He was forced out. He did not want to go. It was a bloodless coup. And then Nancy Pelosi gave an interview in which she basically said, yeah, I decided it was time for him to go. I never had a high regard for his political operation anyway. Then she tells us that she wants to put Joe Biden on Mount Rushmore. Well, you know what? I want to put Alex Jones on Mount Rushmore. How do you like that? I think it'd be much more fitting. These people have enacted a bloodless anti-democratic coup, pardon me. And they seek to foist upon us a president that no one voted for. And they will stop at no lengths to do so. But both in the election integrity area, where we're not out crowing about what we're doing, but I believe there's a lot of good things going on to ensure that we have a free, fair, honest election. There's a lot of legal and technical steps that are being taken. There's a series of lawsuits that have been filed. There's going to be more. Yet when I was caught on a illegally recorded videotape and I said Republicans need to use every technical and legal tool to ensure that the next election is honest. And then I went on to say that it's vitally important that the Republican lawyers have the telephone number for a judge. Let me explain that. In every federal circuit, after the court closes at the end of the day, one judge is designated as the duty judge. Mm-hmm. That means if there's any kind of emergency that arises in the middle of the night, that an emergency motion can be filed with the court. Now, these are normally life and death issues, people in hospitals, fights within families about end-of-life treatment, and so on. But it can really be about anything. Now, the federal prosecutors who criticize me about this woman, Joyce Vance, she knows what a duty judge is. She knows exactly what I was saying. Headline at the New Republic: Stone says Trump has judges in his pocket. It's not what I said, not even remotely what I said. But when they shut down the counting in 2020 in Philadelphia and in Detroit, and the police, local police, threw the Republican observers out, but we now know the count continued without them, and 300,000 paper ballots were dumped. We've seen the video of the truck delivering them. the Republican lawyers had no recourse because they didn't know how to reach a judge. They didn't know how to file an emergency motion. Nothing illicit about that. That cannot happen again. That will not happen again. We're going to do everything possible to make this election clean, honest, and completely transparent.
And I'm glad that we are, and we're prepared this time. Pennsylvania, they just, election county, whatever in Pennsylvania just said that they don't expect to be able to count all of the votes on election night. That's absolutely atrocious. What we're seeing with that, that's obvious election interference. Oh, we can't count the votes all in one night. You've always been able to do it, except for 2020. A big state like Florida and Texas, they're able to do it. Why can't Pennsylvania? Other than the idea of election fraud, they're going to try and steal it again. Now, I'm reading some comments that we have on Rumble, and people on there's a lot of people watching. Some people have some questions for you. One of the questions that we get is, does Roger Stone foresee more terror attacks from the deep state? They already tried the assassination attempt. Do you think something of the sort is there going to be some kind of black swan event or another assassination attempt on President Trump?
Look, I have a real concern about this. So folks will say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. No, there was very definitely an attempt on Donald Trump's life in Pennsylvania, in Butler. As you know, a number of Christian prophets who I respect have told me that there will be yet another attempt on his life based on the Bible, the books of Samuel 1 and 2. The time of 2 Kings seems very much to reflect our current situation. Now the FBI announces that that the Iranians are trying to infiltrate and interfere with the Trump campaign. And then yesterday, the Trump campaign announces that the FBI informed them that their emails had been hacked by the Iranians. Is it the Iranians? Is it really our own government? Will we ever know? Having lived through the Russian collusion hoax, I don't believe anything they say. My great fear, and I don't think that they will try to shoot Donald Trump again. Thank God that didn't work. Thank Jesus. But I could see a situation in which perhaps, I don't wish this, I'm not trying to pray this into existence or wish this into existence, but what if his plane were to be hit by a drone or hit by a missile? They would immediately blame Iran. Who would be in charge of that investigation? Why, it would be the Transportation Safety Board under Joe Biden. So that is a legitimate fear. I fear that this Iranian story is being teed up as a cover story, as a preparation for another attempt at the president's life that they could blame on Iran. Very, very deeply disturbing. I'm just telling you what I think. That's my opinion. I don't have any evidence that the campaign was or was not was or was not hacked by Iran. But it's a very legitimate concern. Folks should join me in praying for the safety of Donald Trump and his entire family.
I absolutely agree. Final thing, we're running out of time, but President Trump has now posted on X 4 times in the last hour. Is that something that is here to stay, or is that something that's going to be just for today or until the election? What do you make about that?
Well, look, the only thing predictable about Donald Trump is that he's completely unpredictable. I'm on the record for a long time talking about the need to go back to X. Look, I love Truth Social. It's great for talking to and mobilizing your base, but Truth Social alone cannot do it. It's an invaluable tool, but Twitter, now known as X, under the leadership of Elon Musk, has become the #1 social media application in the country. It is enormously influential. And Trump can get many, 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 many more followers and more readers there. So I'm hoping that he will take my advice on this. He's always said to me, yes, just not yet. When I say you really should go back on X, he doesn't argue with you. He says, yes, just not yet, when I'm ready. one thing I've knowing him 45 years, don't push the man to do things until he's ready to do them. So I'm hopeful. I think tonight's going to be really great.
Now, I remember sitting down with you in Las Vegas at the Reawaken America tour. We were having lunch, and around that time, President Trump had made his first X post, and it was the picture of his mugshot. And I remember you telling me, even then in Las Vegas over a year ago, or about a year ago now, is that you were one of the first people to tell President Trump to get back on X, and he has now done that. I'm very, very glad. And like you said, he reaches far more people on there. He started running ads late last night. Those can reach so many people who are on the fence. There are so many people that are on the fence on X that are not on Truth Social. You know, I love Truth Social. I think it's a great platform, a great alternative. If something ever happens to Elon Musk, we will have Truth Social as a safe haven for free speech. But President Trump needs to be back on X. I'm very glad that he is. You know, we have some more comments coming in. One of these people, he says, Mr. Stone's wisdom and experience is invaluable. And I'm very glad that we have you involved in not just this election, not just the 2020 and 2016 election, but many other elections before with President Reagan, President Nixon. You know, the final question I have with the last 5 minutes that we have is, you know, what are some of the patterns you see in this election compared to the previous election, or is it far, far different from everything that you've ever seen? Obviously, we had Joe Biden step down. What are some similarities that you see between this and other ones?
By the way, I'm also kind of monitoring the questions here on the live feed from Rumble. It's great. Look, this election's unlike any one that we've ever seen before, but this has happened since Donald Trump decided to enter politics. All of the conventional rules are out the window. So you could get elected president unless you were a governor or a senator or a congressman or a general. And it had just literally never happened. We'd never elected a business person. We nominated one in 1940, Wendell Willkie. He ran a very strong race against Franklin Roosevelt, but he still lost. Trump has changed all the rules in every way. And the advent and power of the internet also changes things dramatically. The number one problem in this election is Google. Google is manipulating data. Yesterday on my 77 WABC radio show, I had Dr. Robert Epstein, who is really devoted himself to the study of Google's manipulation of data. A federal judge just ruled that Google is a monopoly, that they have violated antitrust laws by monopolizing the search function. I think that has to be brought under control in a legal way between now and November to boost our chances. This is Donald Trump's campaign to lose. I don't think he's going to lose it. The other thing, Alex, is the economy is going to get substantially worse between now and the election. It's not just conjecture. I've consulted with some of the top economists in the country. That is going to be a factor. Curbing Google would be a factor. One of the ways you curb them is by exposing them, which is why I think it's great to have Dr. Epstein. He has set up a great website in which you can see in real time exactly what Google's up to. Those are both going to be important factors in the election.
It's very obvious election interference from Google. When you type in Donald Trump, you get search results for Kamala Harris instead of President Trump. It's atrocious. And then not only that, I was reached out to by an organization that is trying to pay Generation Zers $150 per post to post in support of Kamala Harris. Obviously, I said, no, I'm not going to flip. But then later that night on Wednesday, I got a message from someone who wanted to pay me $130,000 to shut up about Donald Trump and no longer post on X. I also said no to that. That was money I could use for college or other things. That would be nice, but I'm not going to flip. I'm not going to be silent. This is clear election interference, and it needs to be stopped, and it needs to be stopped now. Roger, thank you so much for taking time to come on my show. Where can people find you? Where can people find the Stone Zone?
Folks, here's what I urge you to do. Go to Rumble and download the Rumble app to your phone. Then go to the Stone Zone, Roger Stone at the Stone Zone. It's rumble.com/Roger Stone. And set the notifications for our show, which is at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 days a week. Single best place to see us. Now, you can also see us live at X and live at Telegram and live at a number of other platforms, but we still get most of our viewers at Rumble. Rumble's a great free speech platform. So again, follow us on Rumble and check us out. 8 o'clock every weekday, where we talk politics, history, news, food, little clothing, little style. I think you'll like it. Check us all out also at stonezone.com. Stonezone.com. That's my principal website. Subscriptions are absolutely free. You can see our videos, print journalism, hear some of the radio interviews. Of course, go to the store, get your very own Roger Stone Did Nothing Wrong t-shirt or one of my great books. It's all there at stonezone.com. Alex, thanks for having me. God bless you and have a great day.
My pleasure. You know, one of the things that I think we should do, I should fly out to Fort Lauderdale and we should sign stones together to have an Alex and Roger Stone, an exclusive thing. That might be fun. Also, guys, you can go and find his documentary, Get Me Roger Stone, one of the best documentaries I've ever watched. I've watched it so many times. It's very, very inspirational. And they tried to make you look bad, but they made you look a hell of a lot better. Then also, I would typically plug my promo code for MyPillow, but I like to support my uncle. So go to mypillow.com/stone to support Roger Stone with MyPillow sales. Roger, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you all so much for listening. God bless you all, and goodbye.